and welcome to the Tuesday Talk Show with me, your host, Yvonne Gorman. I'm representing my own very small business, Essential Print Services, which we're this one here. Based on Pride Park in Derby, we're celebrating 10 years in business, which is absolutely phenomenal. But enough about me. Welcome to Series 4, Episode 3 of the Tuesday Talk Show with our very special guest, our very own The Huff, Kevin Huffington from Central Health. Good morning, Kevin. How are you? Yes, show us those guns.
I'm very well, thanks, Yvonne. Very well. Thanks for the invite.
No, absolute pleasure to have you on the show. You have a very interesting background and you run an amazing health centre here in Derby. So I'm going to dive straight into the questions because these shows fly through time. So I want to get straight into it. So tell everyone watching this live or on catch up, Kevin, who you are, what you're doing at Central Health, and how on earth did you become your own business owner?
So I'm the clinical director at Central Health Network Limited. Our head office is in Derby, but I'm a physio by trade. I did my degree back in the 90s, and I'm a back specialist physio now. I do short clinics myself, so I'm still clinical, but I run the business, and we're multidisciplinary healthcare. We provide physiotherapy services to the corporate, to the NHS, and to individuals. Occupational health services, again, to the corporate, to the private sector. Osteopathy, podiatry. We have several clinics, but we work around the region providing both public sector, corporate sector, and individual healthcare, primary healthcare services, including GP services and things like that. So in around Derby, for example, you might get referred to one of your NHS physios, and it might be one of our physios that you see.
Oh,
so
wow.
That's us.
Awesome. So how did you get here? You're always very sort of focused on fitness. I always see you on social media running a 10K here, doing a competition there, keep yourself super fit. So where does that passion come from?
It came from my early days in the army. So I left school at 16. I joined the junior army. I joined the Royal Signals, so communications and things like that. And I spent 11 years in the army. So I was a career soldier, but things changed. But I found the interest in that environment. So I found I could run, and I ended up representing the army at triathlon. And I specialised in certain things. I moved away from communications, so I ended up specialising in Arctic warfare and survival training in Norway. So I used to spend 3 or 4 months every year in Norway training the troops to live in the used and fight. I used to do cross-country skiing for the army. I went into physical training, training generally, weapons, ranges, stuff like that. And I did a few little sort of little specialist things as well. So I had a really good career, but things changed. I travelled a lot, so Middle East, Africa for a year, as I say, Scandinavia. I was involved in a couple of small minor conflicts, helped the independence of Namibia in 1988. I was in the first Gulf War. When I came back, things did change. So that's when I started to reassess where I was. And I decided to have my notice in, actually. I left at 26, turned 27. I had all that fitness, and that's the environment I wanted to go into. And so I spent a year or two doing that. And I found that I just wanted a little bit more. So I went back into education, did my A-levels in a year, got B's, and then I got onto my physio degree in Sheffield. That was 96, 7. And then I qualified with a 2-1 degree from Sheffield, 99, 2000, NHS for 2 years. But I always had a little bit of an idea what I wanted to do. I wanted to go into the private sector. So I dabbled a little bit with that and then made a transition. Found a small business actually around this area here. It's actually this business. It was just 2 jobbing physios. It was a very small practice. I got invited to join. And it just escalated from there, really. I took over one of the partnerships. Eventually, I took over the whole thing, and had a sort of reorganization and sort of developed the business from there, really. Had an idea what I wanted to do. I wanted to move into multidisciplinary, much more sort of corporate, contract type based work into the primary care sector. And, that's what we've been doing since. And we've just slowly grown nice and steadily. And so, we've taken on more contract work. We've evolved the services to the corporate, the private, individual sectors. and that's where we are at the moment, really. So yeah, the world keeps moving, and COVID has changed the landscape a little bit again. So there's more opportunities in our marketplace now with supporting the NHS. We've won recent NHS contracts from the NHS, supporting their services, and potentially there may well be more stuff out there. The environment's changed. The corporates are struggling a little bit with their support. So yeah, it's interesting times.
I'm exhausted just listening to that career. That is jam-packed, Kevin. Absolutely jam-packed.
Yeah, no, you reflect, you know what, you get to this stage and you sort of forget about it all, and then sort of you do get an opportunity to maybe chat it through, and you think, wow, yeah. And of course I won Bodyheat in '96. That was an ITV show. It'll only be the older listeners that will probably be familiar with that. It was Sally Gunnell and Jerry Guscott. It ran for 3 years, I think. I went to South Africa and won the final over there. And then I was a last sort of 10-men audition finalist for Gladiators in '98. But I didn't actually feature on the show, unfortunately. But I think, some of the male gladiators were a bit frightened of me, I think.
I'm not surprised with that history. So there is talks of bringing Gladiators back. Would you be interested?
Yeah, I think Gladiators has never went away, but I think it's still on one of the smaller channels. But, I like to think that I got involved in its heyday. So, again, depending on the listeners and the age, I always think the best Saturday night TV was Baywatch, Blind Date, Gladiators, and then Out on the Town. That was the best Saturday night TV ever. It can't be beaten. And that's when Gladiators were in its heyday. Eureka and Justin Fashanu and all those. Primetime telly.
Yeah, absolutely. That is a great schedule right there. Quality schedule. So why Derby then, Kevin?
It was romance, really, love, I suppose. I met someone and they came, they lived around this area, so that's why I moved into the area. Unfortunately, that hasn't quite worked out actually now, but that's the reason I ended up coming into here. So I'm originally from York, North Yorkshire. So, but yeah, that's the reason I came down this way. And so, yeah, and I found myself here. So yeah, I found myself.
And you found yourself right here on the Tuesday Talk Show, and it's an absolute pleasure to have you on. For those people listening and watching in live or on catch up, we would love to hear from you. So please send your comments and questions. We are live, so anything can happen. So straight on to the next question, Kevin. Past year, well, it's been over a year now. It's been just a surreal experience. How has it affected Central Health, and what have you learned about yourself, most importantly?
Yeah, I mean, it's affected us, in a positive way. I don't say too much about that. I mean, we've been very lucky. We've maintained all our services all the way through. Our NHS services in the first lockdown changed to telephone, but we maintained the service. And after the first lockdown, we've returned face-to-face on all our services, apart from occupational health, corporate, but that's slowly coming back on board now. That became all telephone and remote. But we've kept going. And like I say, we've picked up a little bit more work. So we're one of the lucky ones. We've done okay, and the market is changing. I think, again, I'm a big fan of resilience. I mean, throughout your time within business, sticking with it, being resilient with all the challenges that have been, forced upon us in the last year, lockdown, whether you're working or not, furlough or busy. I think lockdowns cause a lot of challenges to a lot of people. Just, not having that spontaneity, having to work from home, not many options, no many, opportunities to let off any steam. Again, that's why I'm a big fan of exercise as well, of course. I've used a lot of exercise to manage a lot of those things. So even with us being busy, it's been challenging. Again, what I've learned is just, being resilient, even more resilient. My background does make me quite resilient. I've put up quite a lot in my time. Tech, of course, we brought tech on quite a lot more, like a lot of people, I think. We've done a lot more remote assessments. Of course, this type of platform where you're Zooming and Teams. A lot of that technology, we probably in our market probably wouldn't have used as much as we have now. And certainly elements of that will be here to stay, which works out quite nicely in some of our marketplace. So, it means we can do a remote assessment now down in Bristol. Whereas pre-COVID, we may have had to go down and do a face-to-face. Well, remote is a lot more acceptable now.
Absolutely.
So it's changed our market a little bit.
Absolutely. So you're going to retain the hybrid way of working then at Central Health?
Yeah, I think so. Certainly sort of what we call management referrals in the occupational health marketplace, when it's a nurse or a doctor assessment, it can work pretty well. Certainly from a physio perspective, sort of hands-on type podiatry, osteo, you know, it is face-to-face. We return back face-to-face. Most people want face-to-face.
Yeah.
That has limitations. It's okay in that initial contact, but I think beyond that, we found that people really do want the face-to-face stuff. As soon as we returned back face-to-face after our first lockdown, where we did do telephone assessment, we had our greatest numbers ever. I mean, people just couldn't get back. NHS, private, everything. I mean, people just wanted face-to-face stuff. So, yeah, I think elements of that, the anxious, you know, the shielding type people, groups, telephone fits, but certainly much more remote in the occupational health environment is a lot more acceptable.
Excellent. That's really, really good. So what is the hardest thing about owning your own company, Kevin? What would you say is the hardest thing about it?
Yeah, I think it depends what sector you work in. So this is a very people-focused sector. So, you know, we need to have clinicians, practitioners. So I would say the hardest thing about my sector at Central is just finding the right people, you know, employees, fulfilling their needs, their expectations. So, yeah, you know, we can develop work, but it's always trying to find the right person to go into that position, you know, and try and fulfill their expectations, you know. So we want to try and keep people happy and manage them and develop them if we can. I would say that's probably the hardest thing in my sector specifically, because it's a very people-focused delivery sector.
And how much time do you devote on people in your business? Does it take a lot of time? Yes,
it eats up a lot of time. So I'm you know, we've been recruiting constantly recently. So it's trying to, you know, manage the new starters, get them supported. We've promoted in-house, you know, we've got a couple of supervising clinicians now. We're developing new services. So yeah, it takes a lot of time actually. So, you know, I'm always working with the sort of accounts managers and the admin team and stuff, just trying to manage people and clinics and so yeah, trying to fulfill their expectations is takes quite a bit of time.
So you mentioned you've probably got a HR hat on during the day at Central Health. What other hats would you be wearing? Do you get involved with the marketing and sales as well?
Yeah, I do. I get involved with a lot of things. We've got different people that do it. We've got a marketing manager, yeah, accounts, administration team, everything else. But yeah, I'm involved with all of it. Not all, you know, not doing everything, but certainly involved to a certain level, and hopefully let people get on with it once we've agreed things. We have, you know, we're always chatting things through, signing things off. So yeah, I'm not actually doing it all myself. I couldn't do it all myself. And as the business has evolved,
you're overseeing that team, and that takes time as well.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, a lot of it I like it. I do actually like the business side of things. So so yeah, I don't find that a chore particularly. I quite enjoy the marketing and the development and things like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I like all that side of things. Yeah.
Excellent. The next question, Kevin, is it was born out of me going to networking events for many years, and when you ask people, "Oh, how are you? How's business?" the default answer would always be, "Oh, it's fine. It's really busy, thank you." When, you know, a lot of the time there'll be people in those rooms putting them a really good front, knowing that when they get back to the office, they've got to deal with some real crap, and things aren't fine. So, can you share a time when you were at your end of your tether, possibly even felt like quitting, but more importantly, how did you get over it? How did you get out of that mindset? What techniques did you use?
Yeah, well, actually, the toughest time is, you know, I'm self-taught like most business people. You end up defaulting and naturally sort of falling into a lot of this stuff. You know, you try and pick up where you can. The toughest time, actually, it was 2016, actually, I remember it. I'd stepped away from the front end of the business. Actually, I learned a lot, but I'd stepped too far away and was relying on other people. Things were starting not to perform as I expected them to. You're looking at the margins and what's happening, and you're sort of questioning what's going on. And I realised that I'd stepped too far away, and things had got away from me, and I wasn't in control of what was going on. So, looking at margins and who we were taking on and all that sort of stuff, I was relying on other people. And actually, we got to a point where, our accounts we weren't sort of invoicing, the stuff wasn't coming in. The business was actually, you hear the phrase, to be a silly fool. We were very busy, but actually I did notice that we weren't sort of bringing things in. The margins weren't right. And we got quite close to the accounts falling to bits, really. And it wasn't making much sense. I know. And so, but it's the steepest learning curve I've ever gone through, actually. And it did make me realize who was doing what. And I reevaluated everything. It was a really tough decision, but I got some support. But I had to lay off a few people and reorganize the business. And I stepped right back into it again. I thought I might be able to let it stack back and let it go itself a little bit, relying on certain people, but it didn't work. And that was the toughest time, actually. It was very stressful. After 12 months, while I was doing it, I was thinking to myself all the time, was it the right decision to make? But after 12 months, it was definitely the right decision I made. Very tough, very stressful, lots of reorganizing. A couple of people I had to move them on. And of course, that always makes the ship a bit wobbly. And people are always thinking then, oh, am I next? Who's going? So it's a very uncomfortable time as you transition and change things up. Again, it depends how many employees you've got. But we had a few. But yeah, that was a tough period, actually, 2016, 17. But on reflection, best thing I ever did. And, I've stepped right back in again and gotten control of it again and moved the thing forwards again, really. And I've learned from that. Very steep learning curve. And I don't let too much of it go too far now and get the right people in. But that I can pin that down right now. Yeah, it was a defining time.
Real milestone moment by the sounds of it.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and it's made me a better person and a better business person and a better manager of people as well, because I sort of put things in place where recruitment's always an issue, but you're always sort of you don't know how people perform until you get them on the ground. You can be very clever and do all sorts of recruitment techniques, psychometrics, whatever it is you want to apply. But certainly you can't tell until you get people on the ground. So we manage them very, very quite closely early on, make sure they're the right people, they can fit in. So yeah, it just tightened everything up, really. Not in a nasty way. We're very we're fun and we like lots of humour and things. But just surreptitiously just stand away a little bit off. But we just try and get the right people involved quite quickly and make sure that everything's in as it should be. And we've learned to say no, and I've learned to say no as well. As the business evolved, I think when you're first starting off, you want to say yes to everything. There's a tipping point, I think, where in business where suddenly you get to a point where people are actually coming to you. Your service is getting more, people are familiar with it. You get recommendations, and I've learned that if the margins aren't right, it's probably not worth pursuing. So it's got to be very margin led. I think early on, pre-2016, I might have not said no quite so often. And it makes it, you get better quality then.
And also, is the client the right fit? I mean, we at Essential Print Services, we deal with lots of business to business clients. So are they the right fit and culture, not just for the margins, but also with their attitude? Are they going to take our advice? Are they going to value what we do for them? So is that so enough doom and gloom? Enough doom and gloom. We're going to talk about the good stuff now. What's the good stuff, Kevin, about running your own business?
Oh, the good stuff is, the rewards. You can, the obvious one is hopefully financial. You then start to control your own time. And the bigger goal, I'm a big exerciser, as you've picked up, and I still do. I'm well into my 50s now, so I'm still exercising a lot. I love all that. I get more time to fit all that sort of stuff in. And again, of course, you try and plan out your future, and it might be that, you know, however you decide to you know, step away from the business in the end, you know, you can choose how you manage yourself going forwards. So I mean, you know, that's the positives of being your own boss. You know, you've got to make that business work though, and make it work for you. So, you know, that's the hardest challenge about it all, isn't it? And making your business successful, that you can maybe you know, move into and develop those opportunities for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So many people watching this will either have already got their own business or their own side hustle. But if there's someone listening to this, Kevin, who wants to start their own company, what advice would you give them for starting out?
Be prepared. It's not easy. It's not easy for anybody, and it's hard work. You know, you have to initially, you know, you have to put those hours in. You know, it's not an easy ride. You know, and you know, choose whatever market you're going to go into, and do that little bit of research. And you know, people say do this and do that, and do your planning. And I think a lot of that goes out the window a little bit. You know, your 5-year and 10-year plans. I mean, that's quite tough, I think. But yeah, just it is hard work. Be prepared to put the hours in, I think. You know, and I think everybody has to put the hours in. I still do put the hours in. Certainly, occasionally, you know, you do long days. You know, sometimes you have to stay switched on over the weekend. You know, you have to commit. You know, it's just being prepared for that, and take the knocks. You know, at 5 doors may stay locked. You know, you open the 6th. You like everybody says. You know, you've just got to keep plugging away. You know, and you know, one door will open, and it's timing. You know, you make your own luck, I think, and that's all about timing. Yeah, but be prepared for hard work.
I think there's no coincidence in that the harder I work, the luckier I become. You know, I sometimes think the harder I work, the luckier I become.
Yeah.
I think, I've got that because I've looked, actually, when I look back on it, I did X, Y, and Z before that, which led up to this. You mentioned planning, Kevin. I mean, how far into the future do you think about business and plan? Do you have like whether it be in your head or on paper, is it more of a 6-month thing? Is it a yearly thing?
Yeah, it's usually sort of in my head annually, probably. You know, look, we've got plans now to put a few more structures in place and things. So yeah, I tend not to write it down. I mean, I've had a little bits of coaching, and I've spoken to mentors and stuff like that, and I have jotted things down occasionally and stuff. But sometimes, you know, again, we've got so busy at times that a lot of it's spontaneous. You're just dealing with what's coming in, and it's difficult to pin it all down. And then suddenly something else comes up, and you think, oh, you know, it's yeah. So I'm not as strategic as maybe, you know, some people might suggest you have to be, but yeah, it's a bit of both. A lot of it's in my head. Usually about 12 months. You know, we've got plans, we've got events planned for next year, for example. So we're looking at 12 months in advance, and everything, you know, in between we try and deal with. Like I say,
I'd love. Sorry. You mentioned about the spontaneity of running a business. Again, I'm not very strategic. I'm more of a creative person. Like you, Kevin, I have maybe 6 months to a year in my head, and maybe at the most on an A4 sheet of paper. But that's it. I like to be able to know at any one moment that I can walk on a different tangent if I think it's the best for the business. You mentioned about fun as well, and our businesses are both part of the Derby Ram Trail, aren't they?
They are.
Why did you get involved with the Derby Ram Trail?
We've done a couple of sponsorships before. So we did the Ramathon. That was our very first sponsorship.
Oh, yes,
and then we did the Central Health Derby 10K for 3 years. And then we moved away from that. So we saw the Derby Ram Trail. I mean, it's a charity event, so it was supporting the Derby Museum, which was really great. So it's a local, you know, concern. Again, you know, it's a great project. And, you know, just to be involved with it is always really good, to be involved with sort of larger sponsorship events. Obviously, that you're trying to get your name out as well. So, and you know, the Derby Ram Trail's got 30 odd sponsors, some big names involved with that. You know, Royce's and
Essential Print Services.
Yeah, and Essential Print Services, of course. So you're mixing it with, some of the bigger boys, so it's all just a bit of everything. What we have learned is sponsorship's quite a difficult thing to quantify.
Yes.
From the Ramathon to the 10K, the Derby 10K and stuff. So very difficult to quantify. But I think a lot of the time you don't, from a financial point of view, a lot of the time sponsorship, and I think that it's not just me. I think research shows it that you don't normally get your money back necessarily. But what you might do is you just you're trying to just drop that name in, make yourself a bit more familiar. And it could be that someone remembers you from in 2 years' time or 3 years. It's quite an interesting thing, sponsorship. But the Derby ran pop. I mean, it's supposed to have run last year, wasn't it? So it's been ongoing for about 2 years plus, hasn't it? So but it looked like an exciting event. The Derby runs look great. We love the activity based. There's 30 rams out there, getting people moving around. Yeah. So there's lots of positives to get involved with it. Yeah.
And where can we find your Rambo?
Oh, we've got Rambo at 30. I think it's number 30 at the spot. Yeah. Okay. So we chose Rambo. Just for a bit of fun. Obviously, the military connection sort of swayed my leanings a little bit, but we just wanted a little bit of fun. And Joy, our artist, has done a great job on him. I mean, all the rams look fantastic. Professional artists have painted these things, haven't they? And they look great. And a great event to have a walk round. A couple of hours out there having a walk round, taking them all in. So it's been great. Yeah. So we're up at the spot. Bit of fun, bit of Rambo. Again, it'll be all the kids, won't it? It'll be the dads that recognise Rambo and all the kids who's Rambo. So find out about Rambo.
For those watching live or on catch up, I will pop the details of Derby Ram Trail in the show notes so you can have a look at it and hopefully get involved. We have someone who's messaged in during the show. We have a friend of the show, Maria Hansen. She says that she agrees you have to commit and be passionate and put the hours in to make your business successful. Totally agree with you there, Maria. You mentioned before that you're sort of learning how to run a business whilst you're doing it, and I'm very much the same, even after 10 years. Do you read any business books at all to help you with that professional development?
Yeah, the best book I read, actually, I mean, there's loads of them, isn't there? But the best one was the E-Myth by Michael Gerber.
Oh, yes. That was a cracking book, isn't it?
It is. It's a very simple book, actually. I mean, there's much better books out there, I think. But for me, it was a real, it's a real eye-opener, really, just about the technician. So, if you're running your own business, I mean, the basic analogy, and correct me if I'm wrong, Yvonne, I mean, the analogy he uses in the book is a baker, isn't it? And the thing is, if you're directly involved with delivering the service, and if you're the one person baking the cakes, you're going to really struggle to develop the business, because until you bring someone else in to help you bake the cakes, you can't take your time away from the cakes to develop the business. So it's about trying to move yourself away from the front end of the business and just delivering the service, because you don't ever have time to develop the business. You're just stuck in the front end, just churning out that stuff that you're trying to produce.
Kneading away at the front of the shop.
Yeah. And so, you've got to stand back and have that time. And I think that was a big learning curve for me. I was doing lots of clinics, lots of treatments and stuff like that. And it would eat all my time up, and I'd never have any time for the business. And, reading the book, like I say, it's a very simple thing. It just allowed me then to reanalyze that, and then step away, put someone else in. I mean, there's a cost to that. You have to weigh that up. Yeah. I understand that, but it's weighing it up that you have to give that time. If you're doing 12 hours and you get home and you're knackered, you're not going to spend much more time on the business necessarily because you're too knackered or whatever. It's a very fine line, not easy to do. I understand that, especially when you're first starting, you're rattling away trying to produce the product. Yeah. But at some point, to develop the business, you have to step away from it, look at it, and put the things in place to try and develop it, and try and put someone else in, if you can, to produce the product. Yeah. Difficult.
I read the E-Myth quite early on whilst I was running my business, and I loved the organisational chart that Michael goes through. I've read the book, but I also have listened to it on Audible with him doing the actual lecture series, and he's a very colourful character. So highly recommend, if you're not a book person, get it on Audible. Highly recommend that. I put that in the show notes for those listening live or online. And again, Maria has mentioned every day is a school day. Absolutely. Absolutely. So as we're at the 30-minute mark, I'm going to squeeze in a couple more questions, Kevin, if that's all right. What will your business look like? What will your business look like once it's done? Is there a finishing mark in mind? Do you think, right, now I've got it to this part, my work here is done? What does that look like?
I mean, it'll keep evolving, I think. I mean, I've got a longer term plan. I'm 54 now, so I'll keep working. I'm that type of person. But I'll step back. I'll never stop. I've got to be. I'm a busy person. An active person. So, but I've got longer term plans. I don't plan to keep plugging away at this every day. I want to back off at some point. So yeah, whatever turns up, really, we're going to keep pushing the business. We've sort of got a much bigger regional and national plans, and so I'll just keep pushing that through. And if someone joins us that might have the inclination to, allow me to step back, become a, chief exec or something like that, and I can step back, that's great. But yeah, so yeah, I'll just keep evolving. But the bigger plan is for me to step back and maybe, hand that over to someone else. Regarding selling, that might be an end game for some people. I have thought about it. I mean, if I got the right offer, of course, you'd look at everything. But the initial plan is to keep evolving. I mean, the UK health market is, there's going to be probably lots of opportunities coming along, with what's going on and things. So yeah. That's the sort of the short term, but the longer term plan is to back off.
Back off, Kevin. Back off.
Say again.
Back off, Kevin. What's on your bucket list for you, Kevin? What have you got left to do that you'd like to do?
Travel more. I'd like to just back off at that point. Yeah, slow down a little bit, but maybe travel. So I like to travel. So I mean, COVID's cut or kibosh and all that, hasn't it? So it's a difficult one. But get back traveling again. I like to get around and that's what I'd like to do. I think my last sort of 10, 20 years, travel. Enjoy myself, relax, and see places. Sorry.
Want to get out more, for sure.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, I think COVID's really accentuated that, hasn't it, for a lot of people?
Yes.
I've missed the travel and the spontaneity of making those decisions. They've all gone at the moment, haven't they?
Absolutely. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you today, Kevin. Just tell everyone, if people want to get in touch with you, whether to talk about something you've mentioned on the show or about your services, where can people find you?
Yeah, well, our head office, I'm usually based at our head office in Spondon. So that's on Nottingham Road. 70 Nottingham Road is our head office. And if anyone's happy to email me, it's kevin@centralhealth.org.uk. Happy to take emails or inquiries. It's not a problem. But yeah, and you can see us out and about around Derby. Probably I drive a nice big Jeep. I don't know if people ever noticed that. My Jeep Wrangler. You can't miss it, I don't think. It's got Central Health on the back. People do notice it a lot. So yeah, you might see me driving around in a big Jeep around Derby.
Fantastic. Well, I'm going to wrap up there, Kevin. We're going to come back to you right at the end for your final thoughts. So I'll leave that for you to have a quick think about. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you so much for your time today. Whether you've watched this on catch up or on live, whether you're watching this whilst you're on the rower or during your miracle morning routine, it's been an absolute pleasure to be with you today. If you've liked this episode, there are plenty more on the Tuesday Talk Show YouTube channel. This is Series 4, and Series 3 and 2 have got their own playlists on the YouTube channel, so make sure you go and visit them. There's been some absolutely cracking guests throughout the time of the Tuesday Talk Show, and press the subscribe button. That really, really helps us out, and give us a comment and a like. That'd be fantastic. So again, back over to Kevin, the Huffington from Central Health, for your final thought, please.
Final thought of the day would be, be resilient, work hard, take the knocks, pick yourself up, brush yourself down, and just try and keep going. I think that's the essence of business. As I'm sure everyone running a business understands, you just got to keep plugging away. It's not easy. Keep knocking on those doors. Keep going,
people. That's a great final thought. Thank you so much,
going.
And we'll see you again soon. Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye.